No, your eyes do not deceive you. This is the second video in as many days of the NFL draft series. Listen, I told you I was going to do everything in my power to get this thing done as soon as possible, and that means back-to-back releases. Today, we focus on the AFC East, and I'm going to be honest, I was a lot higher on the AFC East coming into this. Then I broke down every single pick, and I'm walking away feeling disappointed in these front offices and what they did. And obviously, we'll get into it shortly, but just blanket statement. I think this was the worst draft of a division. I don't know if I've already said that before. Again, there's been so many days in between uploads that I can't remember what I said about previous divisions, but the highest score, and this can be a little bit of a spoiler alert, was a 312, my highest overall score. Yeah, that's not very good. 3 of them were under 3. Without further ado, we will start with the Buffalo Bills, and they finished with a 288, and a lot of that was because of their first 4 picks. I was not a fan of really any of them, but I did think they got some strong contributors in the back end, guys that I think could actually be, potential starters down the line, early rotational guys, but they will make an impact. I was a little bit surprised that they fell as far as they did. But we will start at the top with the 30th overall pick. They selected Maxwell Hairston, the corner out of Kentucky, and Hairston was a guy that was getting pushed up late in the draft cycle a lot because of his testing time and his combine, his combine drills, and what he was able to do in Indianapolis. But the tape, man, I just wasn't very impressed. He's fast, which is great. He's got great makeup speed. He's really able to, recover because of that. When he gets beat off the line of scrimmage or when he gets out of phase, which happens quite frequently, he is able to recover well. And he does have good ball instincts. I will say that. I thought that his jump and his break, when he was able to have eyes on the quarterback, combined with that athleticism, was some of the best in this class. But you can't take a guy like that in the first round. He was my 50th overall player. Like, that's a 20-pick reach in the first round. That's going to get you a 2. I was shocked that he actually went in the first round. I thought there were better corners available. Benjamin Morrison, Siobhan Revel. I thought those guys just played the position much more soundly than Hairston did, and you're kind of just projecting with him. It's can he be an elite ball hawker, with potential to have big returns? Because I just don't think that he's a great technique player, and I don't know, maybe he can be down the line, but the hips weren't as fluid as you'd like them to be. I thought that his foot speed was a little lackluster given his overall speed. And I was, I just thought it was a little bit I thought it was a reach. And I wish the Bills would have gone in a different direction at the cornerback position. And then in the second round, with the 9th overall pick in that round, they went and got TJ Sanders, the interior defensive lineman out of South Carolina. And Sanders was a guy I was a lot lower on than consensus. Going to put that out there right up front. I just didn't think he did really anything super well. I thought that he was a fine pass rusher. To be quite honest with you, he's one of the worst run-defending interior defensive linemen in this class. He gets moved super easily. We're talking about, just solo blocks, washing him out of his spot. He really can't anchor at all. Double teams absolutely just destroy him. And I didn't think he was a good enough pass rusher for those deficiencies to be masked. And so to take him in the second round when you're the Buffalo Bills, it just feels like you're praying that he becomes but just slightly below average run defender. Because honestly, he could be, the worst run defending interior defensive lineman in the league based off of what I saw in college. So to take that early in the second round when there were just better defensive tackles on the board, that's just awful. Awful pick in my opinion. And then in the third round, they get Landon Jackson, the edge rusher out of Arkansas, and Landon Jackson's kind of the exact opposite of TJ Sanders, but I had a 4th round grade on Jackson, and so it was a little bit more of a understandable pick, because once you get later in the draft, the talent level is more clumped together than when you're picking at, the 50th pick, or not even the 50th pick, the 41st pick. But with Jackson, he's a really good run defender, like, one of the best edge setting defensive ends in this class. But he can't rush the passer to save his life. He's not an athlete, or he's not. Listen, he tested really well with his explosive numbers, if I remember correctly, but he doesn't show that on tape. At least in what I saw, I didn't really see that explosive first step. And I thought that his get off and his, his bend around the edge, his ability to win, he didn't really have great play strength in the pass rush department. It just didn't show up for me. And I'm okay if you take a, elite level run defender, which is what Landon Jackson's projection is at the NFL, in the third round. I just, for me, when you're the Bills and you just need that kind of playmaker, there were other guys who I think could have made a bigger difference in the pass game. I gave it a 2. Like, I was very close to, just chalking this, giving them a 3 for it, but it is a little bit of a reach based off of my board. And so I ultimately settled on a 2. And with Deion Walker, another guy where I debated giving a 3 because he's the guy where if he works out, it's a home run pick to be able to get him in the 4th round. But that's a big, big if. He is not a great athlete. He doesn't defend the run well. He struggles with motor. He's just super big, doesn't look interested in the game of football half the time. But he did have a really high pass rush win rate. He was able to generate pressure on the quarterback. When he wants to, he's this big behemoth of a man. My big issue with him is that when you look at the size of his legs, there is no meat there. He is a very oddly proportioned body. All of his weight is on his upper half. Not all of it, but most of it's on the upper half. His calves and his ankles are so small, given the size of that man. It really makes me, it's going to sound so weird, but it makes me question his ability to become a high-level interior defensive lineman, because I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold up, right? I don't know if he's going to be able to dig in and anchor well, because he's going to be getting double teams because of his size and his ability to take up space. So you got to wash him out. I just don't know if he can defend against them. His size makes it super hard. He's already at a disadvantage. He's not very strong. So, I worry about his ability to succeed. And I had a 5th-round grade on him, and they took him around earlier. So I gave it a 2. Again, like, I see the vision with him, but it just based off my board and some other guys that were available that I thought at least baseline or better day one, were on the board, and the Bills really can't. I don't think they can afford to take a guy like Deion Walker when there were other players who could have just made an impact, right away. And then in the 5th round, they get the safety nickel hybrid Jordan Hancock out of Ohio State. This is about right where I had him. I wasn't, super impressed by his film, but I think that he can be a good special teamer. I think he can be a good rotational guy. So I thought the value was good on this pick. And then their 2nd, 5th round pick, they get Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech, the tight end. Super good, like one of the best run blockers you'll see coming out of college. Refined technique, loves to hit people. Doesn't give you much as a wide receiver, but that's, he's kind of exactly what the Bills needed. Given that they already have Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, or no, he's not on the team anymore. I don't even know who their other tight end. It was Dawson Knox, right? I'm not making that up. I think if he's still on the team, then him. But I think that he gives them a level of run blocking that they haven't had from the tight end position in a good while. And then in the 6th round with the first pick in that round, they get Dorian Strong, the corner out of Virginia Tech. He's more of a man cover guy, and I was a little bit surprised that he fell to the 6th round. I saw a lot of 3rd round grades for him. I had a 4th round grade personally on him, but I was shocked to see him go in the 6th round. I still think he's a really good man cover guy. I just didn't think the athleticism was there, and I thought his ball skills and ball production were a little bit low. But I think technique wise, he's very capable of being a number 2 corner in the NFL. Whether or not he can get there and maintain that because of that lack of athleticism is another question. But I think technique-wise, he's already kind of at that level. And then with their 2nd, 6th round pick, they get one of my favorite tackles in this class in Chase Lunt. If you need somebody that, and this is where I kind of question the pick a little bit for the Bills, because they're not really a super wide zone heavy offense, but Lunt is such a good move blocker. His ability to get out in space and just get on his horse and pave the way for his running back was super impressive at UConn. And pass pro, he needs a little bit of work. There were too many plays where I was like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to win that way in the NFL. But I think that given the fact that I had a third to fourth round grade on him, and he goes in this late sixth round, value wise, like you're just getting a really good player. Hopefully he can, build him, because he's also super light. He can build himself out a little bit, develop some more of that strength to really become a more stout in the gap scheme and man blocking game, and then also help himself against bigger edge rushers in the pass pro. But I do think that if he's able to do those things, there's a starting tackle in there, and then you get him in the sixth round, and you can't ask for much better than that. And then their final pick was Caden Prather, the other wide receiver out of Maryland, and I thought he was better than Ty Felton, personally. Like, when I was watching them, I was like, yeah, if Billy Edwards just threw Caden Prather the ball more, I think that we would be talking about Prather over Felton. I don't think Prather falls to the seventh round. That's for certain. Now that being said, I still had an early sixth round grade on him. So, value wise, it's about a round and a half better. But I think that the player is, he's an intriguing prospect. He's older. We didn't see a ton out of him at Maryland just because they didn't give him the ball a ton. But I think that what we were able to see is he's a ball winner down the field. He might not have the best separating ability, and he's not great after the catch, but I think he's got solid hands. He's gonna go up and win some contested catches, win some of those 50-50s, and he can be an overall good contributor to an offense. He's probably no better than a wide receiver 3 at his best, but more consistently, he's gonna be a solid wide receiver 4 in an offense. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, and this was a super mixed bag for me. I thought that their first-round pick in Kenneth Grant was phenomenal. They needed somebody kind of, in that mold of big-bodied block eater. Now, the reason why I didn't have Kenneth Grant higher, and what I do say about Kenneth Grant is I think he's got the highest potential of, really, like anybody but Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty in this class. I think that we could be talking about Kenneth Grant as a potential, like, all-pro defensive tackle, possibly wearing a gold jacket, if he figures everything out. And that's a very big if. But when you talk about the size and the athleticism and the strength combo that he has already at the age of 21 years old, then you can start to see, what the potential can possibly be. Now, the big issue for him and why it's such a big if is that when he is not playing at that level, he is not unplayable, but he's a bad defensive tackle. He doesn't show effort. He gets moved off the ball. He tries to do way too much, hand stuff. That sounded, pause on that. He tries to use his hands way too much rather than just using his brute strength. So there are things there that make me a little bit wary of him becoming that player. But he's got pass rush upside. He can win quick. He can win. He can win with finesse early in the run game. He can win with power. Like, he's shown the ability to do all of these things. It's whether or not he can do it consistently at a high level. That's the big question with him. But if he can, home run pick. And then they get Jonas Saiviana. I just absolutely butchered that. The tackle out of Arizona, who will likely play guard in the NFL early in the second round. And this was just way too early for me for Saiviana. I don't know if I did it any better that time. I thought that he was a heavy foot mover. One of those guys that looks like he's moving in quicksand. Just takes him a lot to get going in space. Kind of limits your ability in a Tyler Booker type way, where it just felt like he took forever to get moving and it really slowed down the development of the play. As a pass protector, he's got big, he's a big frame, big hands. He just doesn't move super well. Struggles to mirror because of those heavy feet. I just thought, fourth, it was late third round is kind of where I had him. I think it was like, 75 overall. So just an entire round way too early for me, and with such a valuable pick in the top 50, that kind of reach is going to hurt you. It's going to cost you. So that gets a 1 for me. And then Jordan Phillips, the defensive tackle out of Maryland, goes in the 5th round at the 5th overall pick there. And I thought this was a phenomenal pick. I had a 3rd-round grade on Jordan Phillips. He's super young, but, man, he is strong as an ox. Like, when you look at his lower half, his ability to anchor against double teams and single blocks will be phenomenal. He is going to be stout in the run game. And the fact that they were able to get that in the 5th round when he's 21 years old, like that blows my mind, because while he didn't show much pass rush upside and isn't really a great athlete, like, we're talking about if he can get 5 sacks a year, he's going to be a great run defender. Like, there is no doubt about that. And you're telling me that he could potentially also get you 5 sacks on top of that. That should be a 3rd-round pick, in my opinion. There's no way that that's a 5th-round guy. And he's super young, too. He's not even at his full development, like his physical development. Like, it's just wild, in my opinion, that they were able to get him in the 5th round. So that gets a 5 from me. And then with the other 5th-round pick, or the second 5th-round pick, I should say, they get Jason Marshall, the corner out of Florida. He was one of the last guys I watched before the draft. And, I had a 6th-round grade on him. So, I think it was a late 6th, early 7th is what it was exactly. And so, a little early for me. Gets 2. He doesn't really do anything special. He's going to be more of a rotational guy, special teamer. You really don't want him on the field. If he is, then you've had some serious injury issues, or your starters are playing like crap, neither of which is very good. So, he gets a 2. And then their final 5th-round pick, they take Dante Trader, the safety out of Maryland. And I was just not a big Dante Trader fan. I thought he was fine, but I didn't think he was anything special. So, that gets a 2 for me as well. And then in the 6th round, they went and take Ollie Gordon. I had an undrafted grade on Ollie Gordon. As a running back, I didn't think he was very good. He's super slow out of the gates. Has fine top speed. Vision is not great. Doesn't make guys miss. It's kind of a soft runner for his size. Now, his highlights are fun. I won't diminish those, but it's the down and out consistency. I'm like, I just don't think this guy can be an NFL running back. And now he's going to a crowded room, and it feels like it's not meant to be for him. And so I thought that was a very odd pick in the 6th round. Again, it's the 6th round, but you take a guy that I don't even think should be drafted, you're going to get danked. And then in the 7th round with their first one, they take quarterback Quinn Ewers, and I thought this was a really good spot for Quinn to get drafted for what Mike McDaniel likes to do in his offense. I wouldn't be surprised if he performs well if Tua gets hurt this year and he's thrust into a starting spot. Do I think Quinn Ewers can be a starting quarterback in the NFL? Long term, no. But I think he can be a very good backup in this league. There were flashes there with Quinn. I just don't think after he's got so many injury issues. I just don't think he's ever gotten back to being the same player. And that sucks because, those glimpses, especially in the first half of the Alabama game back in, 2022, it's like that player is a number 1 overall pick. We never saw that player again, so, and I don't know if we ever will. And that's unfortunate for football fans because that was special. So, it's a 4 for me. I like the pick. I like the fit value-wise. I had a late 5th, early 6th, so I like that. And then their final pick, they take Zeke Biggers out of Georgia Tech. I thought this was good value. I had a 7th-round grade on Biggers. I didn't think he played the position, at an extremely high level. He was fine, for his size. I wish he played a little bit stronger. But overall, he's okay. And you're taking him in the 7th round. So that gets the Miami Dolphins a 2.75 for their draft class. Listen, I thought that the reaches were bad reaches. I thought they took a couple of players that they probably shouldn't have. Specifically Trader and Gordon there in the 5th and 6th, and then the Jonah reach in the 2nd round was that was not good. But they got some good players. I think they got good value with their last 2 picks. I just didn't think it was a draft to write home about. That leads us to the New England Patriots, and I thought they had I thought they had a solid draft. I didn't think it was great. They got good players, I think, that could be something. I didn't think value-wise they did a great job with some of their picks, but I do think that they helped their team out a lot. And they did such a good job in free agency that I think they can be a playoff team, with the impact players they got in this class. And it starts with Will Campbell at the 4th overall pick. And the reason why Will Campbell, for me, is such a, and it's not such a low grade, but it's a 2 rather than, most of the first round picks I've given out so far are either 4s or 5s. For Campbell, it was the fact that he was my tackle 4, and all 3 other tackles were on the board still. And Armand Membu, who we'll talk about next, was far and away my best tackle available, and they just passed on him for Campbell. And with Campbell, the arm length is a serious issue. Like I'm not gonna deny what my eyes saw on tape. They absolutely gave him trouble from time to time. And that was against college competition. So how often is it going to happen at the NFL level? Like that's a thing that you have to ask yourself. Now, if he moves into guard, that completely changes the way I think about this pick, right? It's going to be more like a 4. Now, it's still early, and maybe it's more like a 3, because it's still super early for that kind of player. I thought that he's probably the, 17th, 18th best player in this class, even if he's a guard. I think that Zabel and him are kind of like, neck and neck, and I think Zabel I had it at 14 maybe. So it's still a reach. It's not as bad of a reach, in my opinion, but listen, I think that they still get better here. Campbell was a good player, don't get me wrong. Like, he still was a good player. He did his, as a pass protector, he was really good 90% of the time. But it was that 10% where the arm length showed up in college, where it's like, okay, maybe this is going to be a problem at the NFL. So, and as a run blocker, I didn't think he was too special. So I didn't love this pick. And even though we knew it was coming, I didn't feel great about it. But I did love their 2nd round pick getting Travion Henderson. I had a top 20 grade on Travion Henderson. He was my number 2 running back. I just love the way he plays the game. Now the injuries will be a question mark, but he's the best pass protecting running back I've ever seen as a prospect. Like, hands down, the way he moves to get in position, and then the way he attacks the defenders to not let them come to him, to maintain the integrity of the pocket. He's got such good IQ, and he just loves to hit people. Like, he takes out so many guys from the pass rush. It is watching his highlight reel of pass protection is something you absolutely need to do if you have some time. It's so fun. As a runner, home run hitting ability, game breaking speed that a lot of guys just straight up don't have. You saw it in the Texas game right before halftime. That screen, he got from 0 to 60 in a matter of 2.2 seconds. It felt like, and that happens all the time. Anytime he touched the ball, it was, is this one going for a touchdown? Is this one going, just unbelievable? His ability to change the game on one play. Down to down, he's really good too in between the tackles. Like, he lowers his shoulder, he welcomes contact. He's not really going to make anybody miss, and I thought that his contact balance was, left a little bit to be desired. He does tend to get tripped up. I think it's because his legs are moving so fast that sometimes he just gets out in front of himself. As a pass catcher, I don't know if he really offers much in terms of, your actual route running, but I think that he does a really good job of being a security blanket and getting you stuff after the catch. So he's got there, and obviously he's going to play on 3rd down because of his ability to pass protect, right? So I thought that was a really good pick. And then in the 3rd round, they take Kyle Williams. I had a 2nd round grade on Kyle Williams. I think he's going to be a fantastic player in that offense. Day one, he might even be their number 1 wide receiver. That room, I'm not saying much considering where that room is, but what Kyle Williams gives you is a guy that gets open. He's got great hands. He moves so fluidly in and out of his routes. He's a smaller body. He doesn't have a great contested catch percentage. It doesn't give you a ton after the catch, but smooth, like just smooth route runner, and gets open very frequently. So I thought that was a really good pick as well. I think he'll be a good friend for Drake May. And then they get Jared Wilson in the third round. Like Wilson, I think Wilson was picked at pick 95. I had him at 94 on my big board. I thought this was great value for what Wilson does and does well. Pass protecting, I think that this is a great spot for him. As a run blocker, I think he has a lot to work on, play strength being one of them. But once he does, then I think we can talk about Wilson as being, one of the, top half starting centers in the league. But right now, I just think he's solid overall. He'll probably come in the bottom half, maybe that bottom 10 as a starter. But he can develop and, become one of those fringe top half guys. Then they get Craig Woodson early in the fourth round, and I loved Craig Woodson when I watched him. He's the safety out of Cal. Super fun player, kind of a throwback guy, more of a box safety, loves to hit, but still can make plays in the passing game. I had a late third, early fourth on him, so he goes right in that window, and I think the Patriots will absolutely love him. I think he's a Mike Vrabel guy with the way that he plays the game. So I was super, super happy that he was able to go to a place that was going to allow him to be the player that he wanted to be. Then they get Josh Farmer in with their second, fourth round pick, and Farmer was a super raw tackle out of Florida State that I was like, he's kind of like Deion Walker, where I can see the vision. He's a big body guy. Now he is a little bit older. That when he shows off his strength, it's like, holy crap. He can just straight up throw dudes with it, no problem. But he has no idea what he's doing out there. There were so many times where it just felt like he was like throwing punches at the offensive lineman, and I don't mean actual punches, but like throwing hands at the offensive lineman because he didn't know what to do. And so it was kind of like, it just looked like he was flailing. And there was a lot of that on his tape. And I thought that, in the fifth or sixth round, that would be where I take him, just because even though he is a bigger body, he's not a great athlete. So I don't think he does. I don't think he's a great baseline at run stopping or pass rushing. So I thought that he was a day three mid round day three guy. He goes late in the fourth round. It's just a little early for me, so I give it a 2. But I do think that he can, he has the potential to be a really solid player overall. And this was probably the most surprising fall of the entire draft for me. Braden Swinson going in the 5th round when I had a second round grade on him. Like, honestly, that might be the biggest steal in terms of where I had the guy on my big board and the eventual overall pick that he went. I thought he was a phenomenal player off the edge. Like, I don't know if there's medical issues or if there were character concerns, because what Swinson brings to the table is a big, powerful edge rusher who's good enough athletically to bend around the corner and win around the outside shoulder, but also has the IQ and awareness to be able to counter inside. And I thought that his body size he was able to generate enough power to push the pocket and create disruption for the quarterback. Maybe it's the fact that, he wasn't a great run defender, but I thought he was good enough, given his ability as a pass rusher. The fact that Savion Jones went before him just flabbergasted me. Like, I kept saying, okay, when is Braden Swinson going to go? When is Braden Swinson going to go? Because it felt so fake and just, I really don't know what else to say. Like, I was just shocked. And so, that's a 5. It's an easy 5 for me. And then I didn't watch any of these other guys, but I have a rule on this channel, and this is a rule that I hold firm and I stand pat on. If you take a long snapper at any point in the NFL draft, it is a 1. You do not get, even if I didn't watch the long snapper, I'm not giving you an NA, because you do not draft long snappers. That is something you do in free agency. Drafting a long snapper is a waste of a valuable asset. Okay? This could be a player who fills out your roster. You can find a long snapper literally anywhere. And the best long snapper in the NFL versus the 25th long snapper in the NFL is not a big enough difference to justify being a draft pick. To take him in the 6th round is ridiculous. Which honestly sucks for the Patriots, because it dropped their overall grade from what could have been a 3.47 to a 3.13. And that sucks for them, but I'm not apologizing for it because taking a long snapper in the NFL draft is the dumbest thing you could do. That brings us to the New York Jets, and they had a phenomenal first-round pick. Armand Membu was my number 4 or 5 overall player. He was number 5 overall player. He was one of my 5 blue-chip prospects. If you can get one of my 5 blue-chip prospects, and he was the second guy off the board, that's a 5. And it's mostly for the fact that I just love Armand Membu, the player. Super strong guy, great athlete, plays with elite leverage at his size, does a great job generating drive off the line of scrimmage, can move block as good as anybody else in this class, needs to work on his technique as a pass protector, but he's 21 years old. He's 21 years old, which means that he is not physically developed. He has a lot more to learn as an offensive tackle. I think that this guy is going to be an all-pro offensive tackle. That is how confident I am in his ability as a, day one run blocker and his athletic ability and traits given his size, right? I fully believe in him, and I think, as a right tackle for the Jets, he's going to be a phenomenal player, and I think they just absolutely smashed this one out of the park. They followed it up with a pick that I was not so fond of. Listen, I didn't understand the Mason Taylor hype as being, tight end 3 in this class. They take him with the 10th overall pick in the second round. That's just he was not up there for me with tight ends. Like I was not impressed with his ability to get open. I was not impressed with his ability at the catch point. Not impressed with his after the catch is where he was at his best. As a blocker, I was not impressed with him. I just thought that taking him this early when there were other tight ends that do what he does just a little bit worse, you could have taken him in the 4th round or the 5th round. I can't justify this pick. I knew he was going to be taken earlier than I thought he should be. But when I saw this go across the screen, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. That is just such a bad pick. So, Mason Taylor pick gets a 1. I thought the Jets could have done a lot better there, given a close to top 50 pick. And then Azareye'h Thomas, the corner out of Florida State, goes in the early 3rd round. This is about where I had him. As a man corner, you're not going to find a guy that has better technique than he does. He's just not a very good athlete, right? A 4.6 40 at corner is a near-death sentence. There's not many guys that can make that work. I do think he is one of them that can make it work just because of his technique being so good, especially at the line of scrimmage, his press and his mirror ability. He's got really quick feet for not being, having that great long speed. And, that's going to help him a lot. But the problem is when he does get beat, which will happen in the NFL, he's cooked. Like, you're going to have help over the top because he's just not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to make it up. He doesn't have recovery speed at all. And that brings us to probably the worst pick in the entire draft, Arian Smith. This is a guy who I did not even bother watching in terms of his actual, draft tape, because I thought he was so obviously not getting picked from what I saw. I mean, listen, I'm a huge college football fan. I know a lot of these guys based off of what I watched from them in the season, especially if they're skill position. And Arian Smith was so far off of my radar for the NFL draft because of what I saw from him in season that him going in I watched 250 guys, 260 guys. I didn't watch him because I thought there was no way he gets drafted. And he goes in the 4th round early. That is the worst pick of the NFL draft. Worse than taking the long snapper because he did it in the 4th round. Arian Smith had the worst drop percentage in the entire college football realm last year. He had 10 drops on 72 targets. He has some of the worst hands you will ever see. He cannot run routes. What he does well is run down the field and is fast. That's it. He's not going to be a contested catch winner. He's not going to be able to, go over the middle and make tough catches. He doesn't give you anything after the catch. He is just fast. Awful, 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 awful pick. I cannot state enough how bad how bad of a use of a resource this was. Let's get on to Malachi Moore, who they took with their second and fourth round pick. This is about where I had Malachi Moore, smart safety out of Alabama. Just not a very good athlete, but, will be in the right place more times than not. It's just about how well he's going to be able to translate, to the NFL, given his lack of athleticism. Excuse me. Didn't watch Francisco Mauga. He's a linebacker out of Miami. I think I watched, 16 linebackers, and I didn't get to him. He goes in the 5th round. Then they get Tyler Barron, edge rusher out of Miami. I thought the Miami defense was just a little overrated. And maybe not overrated, because this is about where I had Tyler Barron going. I thought that, they had a lot of guys that were good draft prospects, were draft prospects, solid college players. But you see that a lot of them just went in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. I just think it's interesting. Maybe I was looking too much into that, but Barron's a good player. Not a great athlete. I think that, he's probably you're too deep in terms of your edge rushers, just because of what he gives you offense, or as a pass rusher, and he's a fine run defender. I just don't, you're not going to count on him to get you to 7-8 sacks a year. He might be like a 30 pressures guy in this season. Overall, that is a 2.66 for the New York Jets. It's the worst of the of the teams in this division. They just didn't take Arian Smith. They could have not been the worst, but they decided to make one of the worst picks in this class. I can't get behind that. Like, at least with Dante Thornton, when we talked about the Raiders yesterday, like, at least with him, it was like, okay, he's big and he's fast. Like, we know that this body type doesn't come around often. I think Arian Smith is like 5'11". There is no redeeming qualities about him other than his straight line speed. Like, I just did, man, it just doesn't make any sense. But that'll do it for today's video. I had a really good time, like, going back at this specific division and seeing, all of the guys that they took, because, these teams are known for their interesting draft classes. So I had a lot of fun going back and checking them out. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps a lot. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. By the time the college football season rolls around, it's a good marker. It gives me a couple of months. College football 26 coming out. Going to start uploading more videos focused on that rather than real life. Really make that switch. Start to focus on getting ready for July and creating a dynasty. I have a couple teams in mind already, and it's already May, or I said it's only May, so we're getting excited about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you on the flip. See ya.